big question. Are equality and human rights being upheld in customary law here in South Africa? Well, that's the big question that delegates at Stellenbosch University's Social Justice and Customary Law Conference are going to be asking and grappling with today. This conference bringing together a range of diverse stakeholders, including government, the judiciary, legal professionals, and also traditional leaders, importantly. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by a Stellenbosch University law professor. Always a pleasure, Thuli Madonsela. Prof, good morning to you. There's so much, I'm sure, that we can talk about what's coming up in your conference. But when we look at how we're going to be talking about equality and human rights, surely, Prof, you're going to be talking about Women's Month, GBV, and gender equality. How important is that for your conference starting today?
Good morning, Gareth. Thank you for the privilege. Of course, gender equality and GBV will be central to a conversation about customary law and social justice, and looking at whether transformative constitutionalism has moved the needle on equality and human rights. And GBV and women's rights are human rights issues.
So when we talk about social justice in this country, why the involvement of traditional leaders in a case like this? Because that's the part that stood out for me, Prof. You're talking to the judiciary, you're talking to government, you're talking to major stakeholders. The inclusion of traditional leaders in this case, very important what they have to say, isn't it?
Absolutely. Traditional leaders have been designated as custodians of customary law in many rural areas where people are governed predominantly by customary law. The people who administer those laws are traditional leaders, and it's important to converse with them, firstly, about what is the constitutional injunction regarding the achievement of a society that is based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights, and what is expected from those who operate on behalf of the state to adhere to this injunction, and what have we achieved since the Constitution 25 years ago? Where are the impediments, and what are we going to do about it going forward?
And Prof, there are so many impediments to talk about, and I'm sure you could spend a whole day, not just you and I talking about it, but also at this conference, which I'm going to ask you for details about in a moment, where people can join, can watch, possibly follow what's going on. But as we talk about that conference later, Professor, when we talk about basic human rights, can I also throw into this basic income, a basic income grant and a social tax? Because a right to income is a right to dignity. I'm sure you'll agree.
Absolutely. In the modern society where everything depends on money and we can't barter, and anyway, many people don't even have land to be self-sufficient, then a social grant or a basic income grant is necessary. You just read the figures on equality. You just read the figures on unemployment. And I think government has taken note of that, which underscores the demand for a basic income grant, asking that the current distress grant needs to be upgraded and standardized as a permanent basic income grant to assure the dignity of everyone, to stop hunger, but also to assure peace, because when people are hungry, they can be angry, and when people are angry, we are going to get revolutions.
They are. There's a knock-on effect about the not having money, not having food, not being able to educate and clothe your children. Professor, I'm going to ask you about the conference. I'd like details on that before I let you go this morning. But if you don't mind, if perhaps I can take a liberty here, I would like for you to put your former hat on quickly as public protector. How angry were you? I'd like your reaction to the corruption whistleblower, the death of Babita Deokaran, shot dead in South Africa. What's your reaction to that story?
We were shocked and saddened by the death of Deokaran, and the Gauteng Advisory Council on Ethics will be issuing a statement in this regard. It really just points to the inadequacy of appreciation for whistleblowers and their protection. And yet we know all of the things that we know primarily because of whistleblowers.
And also they bring out the issue of social justice, making sure we all talk about social justice. Prof, before I let you go, I want you to tell me about this conference today. Are we able to watch online? Are we able to see what's going on? Tell me about what is happening today with this conference very briefly.
Thank you, Gareth. We're asking people to please join. Don't even just watch. Well, you can watch if you want, but you can join because we want everyone to talk about, are we seeing more human rights? Are we seeing more equality in personal law, that is marriage, in things like ukutwala when it comes to children, in succession or inheritance rights, or in the way people get access to chieftaincy, in the way land is managed? All of these things affect you, me, and ordinary people, and therefore we would love for everyone to register. There's still an opportunity for people to register between now and about 8:45 this morning, and then we will then close registration when the conference starts at 9.
Prof, just tell us where we're going very quickly, or where we're going online to find this. If we still want to register before 9 o'clock, just tell us where to go.
Please go to the Stellenbosch University Twitter line. It is going to give you a very long address. Also go to the Social Justice Twitter. It's going to give you a long address. And Thuli Madonsela at 3, Thuli Madonsela 3 will also give you the link.
Thuli Madonsela 3 on Twitter is where you want to go and find it. Well, to Professor Thuli Madonsela, that is the Thuli Madonsela 3 on Twitter. I thank you for your time this morning. Stellenbosch University Law Professor Thuli Madonsela. It is the Social Justice and Customary Law Conference getting underway today.